On November 29, 2020, at 5:42 a.m., the quiet town of Farmington, New Mexico, was jolted by a distressing 911 call. There, Fernandez-Hoefer, a 47-year-old third-grade teacher, was frantic, reporting that her 49-year-old husband, Robert Hoefer, was dead. When police arrived at the couple's modest home, they found Heather waiting outside, her face pale and her voice trembling. She led officers inside where a grim scene awaited. Robert's lifeless body lay face down on the bedroom floor, his skin cold and his chest stained with blood. The officer's initial assessment revealed multiple puncture wounds, raising immediate questions. Was this a tragic suicide, an accident, or something far more sinister? The investigation that followed would uncover a web of inconsistencies, hidden tensions, and haunting evidence. Officers quickly secured the scene, noting the unusual lack of blood in the bedroom despite Robert's apparent stab wounds. Heather, visibly shaken, recounted the events leading up to her discovery. She explained that she had fallen asleep on the couch earlier that night, only entering the bedroom around 3 a.m. to use the bathroom. That's when she noticed Robert complaining of chest pain, saying, "It hurts, it hurts." When she lifted his shirt, she saw blood and attempted to clean the wounds with a washcloth, believing they were superficial. She speculated that Robert might have used a steak knife or a razor to harm himself, though she admitted she didn't witness the act and couldn't locate the weapon. Heather's account raised red flags. She mentioned that Robert had wet the bed, which is why she chose to sleep on the couch, a detail that seemed out of character for him. When asked about Robert's mental state, Heather insisted he showed no signs of suicidal behavior. Officers, cautious about contaminating the scene, warned her not to touch anything, as a knife could still be nearby. They also observed that the wounds appeared deeper than Heather described, prompting them to call in detectives and a medical examiner. As one officer remarked, "These lacerations are deep enough to cause serious concern. But there's not enough blood here to make sense." The Horror residence wasn't just home to Heather and Robert. Living with them were Heather's 28-year-old son, Tyler Hartzell, his girlfriend, Elizabeth Pinto, their 6-day-old newborn, and another young child. Tyler, who had suffered a traumatic brain injury in March 2020 after a long boarding accident, relied on medication that induced deep sleep, leaving him unaware of the night's events. Elizabeth, however, provided a critical detail. She recalled hearing Heather crying around 4:30 or 5 a.m. before the 911 call, suggesting the timeline might not align with Heather's story. Heather and Robert's relationship was relatively new. They had met a year earlier at the Farmington Public Library, where Heather worked part-time, married on September 5, 2020, just 12 weeks before the incident. Described as being in a honeymoon phase, the couple seemed inseparable, often spending evenings together playing video games like Fallout. Robert, a former Navy nuclear operator, lost his library job due to the COVID-19 pandemic, increasing financial strain on the household, which was largely supported by Heather's teaching income. Detectives arrived to search the home, with Heather granting permission. They soon made a startling discovery: a steak knife in the kitchen's butcher block, which Heather suggested Robert might have used. Curiously, the knife was clean, properly stored, and showed no traces of blood, despite later testing revealing Robert's DNA on the blade. This anomaly deepened the mystery. How could a knife used in a fatal stabbing be returned to its place without evidence? At the Farmington police station, detectives interviewed Heather, Tyler, and Elizabeth separately. Heather waived her rights and provided background on her relationship with Robert. She described a loving marriage free of major conflicts and recounted the night's events. After playing video games and sharing a single gin and ginger ale, she warmed Robert a slice of pie in the kitchen, the only time she left his side before bed. Around 11 p.m. or midnight, Robert complained of chest pain but didn't specify the cause. Heather claimed she didn't see the blood until 3 a.m. when she cleaned his wounds, believing them to be minor. Tyler, however, painted a different picture. He described both Heather and Robert as heavily intoxicated that night, contradicting Heather's claim of a single drink. He noted Robert's habitual drinking, consuming a fifth of vodka or a 12-pack of beer daily. Tyler also shared a recent incident where Heather, frustrated over a family disagreement, struck him, revealing her capacity for physical outbursts. Despite this, he insisted Heather and Robert's relationship was strong, with Robert often defending her. Elizabeth corroborated the couple's affectionate dynamic, noting they were always together and seemed happy. However, she admitted to hearing Heather's cries early that morning, raising questions about what transpired before the 911 call. The interviews revealed a household under strain, financial pressures and Robert's unemployment adding complexity to the dynamics. As detectives pressed Heather, inconsistencies emerged. She initially claimed she cleaned Robert's wounds when he went to bed, but later said it was at 3 a.m. She also couldn't explain why she didn't seek immediate help, stating, "I didn't think the wounds were that bad." When confronted about the clean steak knife, she expressed confusion, saying she didn't notice any knives missing. Detectives found her explanation implausible. How could Robert stab himself, return the knife to the kitchen, and leave no blood trail? The lack of blood in the bedroom was another puzzle. Officers noted that if Robert was alive when he moved from the bed to the floor, there should have been significant blood. A washcloth found at the scene had minimal blood, inconsistent with cleaning deep wounds. Heather's claim that Robert wet the bed was also questioned, as police found no vomit or other evidence she described, such as Robert lying on a school laptop. A neighbor's statement added intrigue, reporting hearing a male and female yelling around 3 or 4 a.m., described as lively rather than violent. This contradicted Heather's assertion that she and Robert never argued. Further, a video from November 23, 2020, found on Heather's phone, captured an argument between the couple about Robert's ex-wife, undermining her claim of a conflict-free marriage. Investigators uncovered a 2019 Facebook message from Robert to his ex-wife. "I didn't cut deep enough, making a mess." While vague, it hinted at possible past self-harm, though his ex-wife noted he never explicitly mentioned suicide. She described Robert as struggling with depression and heavy drinking during their marriage, but not suicidal. Robert's sister Sonia echoed this, noting his lifelong battle with alcoholism and possible undiagnosed Asperger's syndrome, which left him feeling socially isolated. However, she emphasized that meeting Heather had brought him unparalleled happiness, making suicide seem unlikely. Text messages between Heather and Robert revealed her awareness of his drinking. She often urged him to abstain, once writing, "You know you can't be drinking because I can't take her tonight, right?" Robert's replies, like "Yes, dear," suggested compliance, but Tyler confirmed Robert drank heavily nightly. These details painted a picture of a complex relationship, marked by affection but strained by Robert's struggles. Tyler's interview took a dramatic turn when, possibly unaware he was still recorded, he voiced suspicions about his mother. "I don't think he stabbed himself," he said, questioning why Heather cleaned Robert's wounds instead of calling for help. He recalled Heather expressing guilt, saying, "I failed him," but she didn't elaborate. Tyler's frustration was palpable. If you didn't do anything, why feel guilty? Nothing's adding up. He also mentioned a recent physical altercation with Heather, suggesting she could be feisty when provoked. The detectives confronted Heather about the yelling heard by neighbors, which she denied, insisting she and Robert never fought. They also questioned why she didn't sleep in bed with Robert, given her claim of a loving relationship. Heather offered conflicting excuses, first citing the bedwetting, then saying she didn't want to damage her new glasses while using her phone. These inconsistencies, combined with the physical evidence, led detectives to suspect foul play. The autopsy provided critical clarity. Robert had 3 stab wounds to the chest, 2 punctured his right lung, and 1 severed a coronary artery and collapsed his left lung, causing 3 liters of blood to collect in his chest cavity. This explained the minimal external blood. The pathologist deemed it almost impossible for Robert to have inflicted such injuries himself. Eaten pie and gone to bed, as Heather suggested. Death likely occurred within minutes, 2 hours, not over the course of the night. Minor blunt force injuries on Robert's head, neck, and arms suggested a possible struggle. And his blood alcohol level of 0.08 for confirmed intoxication, the steak knife, while bearing Robert's DNA, had no blood, raising doubts about its involvement. Police documents noted Heather's 911 call included a cryptic remark that Robert got mad, which she never explained. These findings shifted the investigation from suicide to homicide. Despite mounting evidence, the case stalled for nearly 5 years due to New Mexico's limited forensic resources. On April 1, 2025, police arrested Heather outside her school, charging her with second-degree murder and tampering with evidence. New analysis of her phone, including the November 23 video, revealed a pattern of arguments, contradicting her claims of harmony. During her arrest, Heather maintained a light demeanor, joking about her glasses and needing to use the bathroom, but grew emotional in the police car, pleading, "Please don't let them plaster my face on Facebook." Heather was released on a personal recognizance bond pending trial. As of October 2025, no conviction or sentencing has occurred, leaving the case unresolved. Sonia, Robert's sister, reflected on the delay, noting that the state's single lab slowed evidence processing, causing the case to linger on the back burner. The death of Robert Hoefer remains a haunting puzzle. Did Heather, driven by an unrevealed motive, take his life, or was there another explanation for the tragic events? The clean knife, the lack of blood, and Heather's conflicting statements continue to perplex investigators. What do you think happened that night in Farmington? Share your theories in the comments and join us on the Crime Decoder for more gripping true crime stories.